Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive.
It's wild how much the world of work is changing, right? It seems like every day there's something new to figure out. And one of the biggest things is, well, recruiting, right? How companies find the people they need, because that's changing so fast. I think it's impacting everybody, really, whether you're a growing business or you're out there looking for your next gig.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. That's exactly what we're diving into today and the LinkedIn report you sent over. Really fascinating look at the future of recruiting, specifically in the DACH region, so Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, looking ahead to 2025. And they've also got some insights from their global report to give us that broader context.
Totally. And our mission with this deep dive is to really pull out those key insights, give you like a shortcut to understanding how things are going to be different, right? So we're zeroing in on three major areas. AI, obviously, because that's kind of eating the world right now, the growing emphasis on the quality of new hires, and this whole movement towards skills-based hiring, which, I think makes a lot of sense. We've got a ton of data to unpack here. Global trends, DACH-specific numbers, surveys of both HR folks and job seekers, and then expert opinions from the people actually leading talent acquisition in big companies. So let's dive right in, shall we?
Let's do it. And we've got to start with AI, right? This report makes it clear that AI in recruiting is not some far-off thing anymore. It's happening now, especially in the DACH region. They found that 69% of HR professionals there say AI is straight up changing how companies hire.
69%, that's a lot, man. So for folks listening in the DACH region, whether they're hiring or looking to be hired, like what does that actually look like? How is AI changing things on the ground?
Well, one of the biggest things is what they call generative AI. GKI in the report. And it's basically speeding up the whole hiring process. It can handle those repetitive tasks that used to take up so much time. Think like, writing job descriptions or even those first messages to potential candidates. AI can do a lot of that now.
It's like having a whole extra set of hands. And it
Yeah.
seems like companies are catching on because the report says 30% of companies in the DACH region are either using GKI or at least experimenting with it. That's up from 23% the year before. So, people are seeing the potential there. What kind of gains are we talking about? Like how much time are companies saving?
Yeah, well, if we zoom out to Europe as a whole, the report says the main benefit companies are seeing with GKI is, yeah, it's efficiency. They're saving something like 16% of their work week, which is pretty much a whole day.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
So that must be changing what recruiters actually spend their time on. Less admin stuff, more big picture thinking. What does it look like in practice for someone in HR?
It's definitely a shift towards strategy. More time for building relationships with candidates, making sure they have a good experience throughout the hiring process, and really acting as advisors to hiring managers within the company. I think it was Kristen Wagner from Deutsche Bahn who said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she basically said, the best recruiters are using AI to actually boost their personal interactions with candidates, not replace them.
Yeah, that's super important. It's not about AI taking over completely. It's about making space for those human connections. And I bet this shift also impacts what skills recruiters need to have, right? Like if AI is doing all the routine stuff, what are the essential human skills that are becoming even more important?
You're spot on. As AI handles the transactional side of things, those soft skills, they become even more valuable. The report found a big jump in the number of DACH job postings for recruiters that mentioned things like relationship building, up 10 times compared to the year before. Communication skills are up fivefold, and analytical thinking, they want that 4 times more.
That's a pretty clear sign that priorities are changing. But let's be real. With any new technology, there are always concerns, right? What are some of the challenges or potential downsides of using generative AI in recruitment that companies need to be aware of?
Yeah, good point. The report brings up some valid concerns. One is just the accuracy of the content that AI generates. You need to be sure it's right. It needs to reflect your company accurately. Then there's the whole integration piece. Fitting these new AI tools into your existing HR systems and processes can be a pain. And of course, we have to talk about data privacy. In the DACH region, 49% of professionals said that was a key hurdle for them. And then legal and compliance issues, that's a big one for 36%. So making sure you're on the right side of the law, that's a must.
For sure. It's not just about jumping on the AI bandwagon. You got to do it right. So what are some practical things companies can do to integrate AI both effectively and responsibly? For anyone listening who's in HR or leading a team, like what are some actionable steps they could take?
Okay, well, I really like this idea from the report of creating what they call KI Spielplatz environments. It's basically like a sandbox, a safe space where recruiters can play around with different AI tools, see how they work for things like writing job ads or those initial outreach messages, but without the risk of messing up anything important.
Yeah, that makes sense. Give people a chance to get comfortable with the tech before unleashing it on the world. And training, right? It can't just be about giving people access to AI. They need to know how to use it properly, ethically, and also how those soft skills we talked about, how they all fit together.
Exactly. And responsible use of AI is a big theme throughout the report. Salma Rashad from Siemens, she emphasized how important it is to really invest in AI tools that have been tested. They've got to be accurate, they've got to be fair. And it's crucial that candidates actually understand how AI is being used in the hiring process, that there's transparency, that the tools are respecting everyone's privacy, all that good stuff.
It's about building trust, really. And I like how the report talks about establishing company-wide principles for AI usage. LinkedIn actually has a set of 5 principles they focus on. Things like promoting economic opportunity, trust, fairness and inclusion, transparency, and accountability. Those sound like a good starting point for any company.
Absolutely. It's also really helpful to hear what talent acquisition leaders in the DACH region are saying. Hung Lee from Recruiting Brain Food, he stressed that HR folks need to become like power users of AI. And then you've got Kirsten Wagner at Deutsche Bahn. She was talking about how AI frees up time for that personal connection with candidates. Tina Meyer from Freudenberg, same thing. She said AI simplifies the repetitive tasks, but personal interaction remains key. Jill Leonard from HelloFresh, she put it really well. She said AI should enable the human element, not replace it. It's about keeping the process human, fair, and focused on the candidate. That really resonates with me.
Okay, let's move on to another key trend highlighted in the report, the quality of new hires. It's no surprise that in the DACH region, with so much competition for talent and these skill shortages, companies are laser focused on getting the right people in the door, the ones who can hit the ground running and actually make a difference.
Totally. In fact, 75% of HR professionals in the DACH region said measuring the quality of new hires is becoming more and more important. But here's the thing, only 28% feel confident that their company is actually good at measuring it. That's a big gap, right?
Yeah, that is a big gap. So how can AI help close that gap? What can AI do to help companies better understand and ultimately improve the quality of their new hires?
This is where the analytical power of AI really shines. The report breaks it down a few ways. AI can look at existing employee performance data, the people who are already crushing it, and figure out what makes them successful. What traits or experiences do they have in common? And it can actually help predict the long-term success of candidates by spotting patterns in their backgrounds and comparing those to like positive outcomes after they're hired. Plus, AI can standardize assessments, which is huge for reducing unconscious bias. We all have biases, right? But AI can help level the playing field and make sure everyone gets a fair shot.
The report says 58% of DACH HR pros think AI can improve how they measure new hire quality, which makes sense. Do we have any real-world examples of this in action, like companies who are actually doing this successfully?
For sure. Salma Rashad at Siemens talked about how they're using AI to get more accurate assessments of candidate skills and potential. And get this, LinkedIn's own data shows that companies using AI-powered messaging in their hiring are 9% more likely to end up hiring qualified candidates. So AI can actually help you find and connect with better applicants.
But even with all the fancy AI stuff, employer branding still matters, right? It still seems super important for companies to have a strong brand, one that genuinely appeals to top talent. Things like, working with a bunch of other smart people, opportunities for growth, all that.
Yeah, 100%. Your employer brand is a magnet. It's what draws people in. And the report has some great advice for both measuring and boosting the quality of new hires. First off, have a strategy. Don't just wing it. Uber has a 3-part framework that I like.
Yeah.
It's all about creating detailed profiles for each role, having a consistent way to assess candidates, and then doing thorough reviews after someone's hired to see how they're doing.
That's a smart approach. When it comes to measuring quality, what are DACH companies looking at specifically? Like, what are the key things they're tracking?
The report says the common metrics in the DACH region are things like job performance reviews, feedback from teammates, and even customers, and how satisfied the new hire is, are they happy in their new role? It seems like the best approach is to look at it from all angles, get a holistic view.
Can AI help with that too, beyond just that initial assessment?
Oh, yeah. LinkedIn is experimenting with AI to actually analyze interview transcripts, which is pretty cool. It can pick up on things like communication styles and how well someone's answers match what the role needs. And of course, companies should always be working on their employer brand.
Hmm.
What makes your company a great place to work? Is it innovation? Is it learning opportunities? Whatever it is, shout it from the rooftops because that's what's going to attract the best people.
We've also got some great insights from talent acquisition leaders on this. Fabien Desmangles from Dassault Systems. He talked about how AI helps companies make more data-driven decisions about new hires, more predictive, and ultimately less biased. David Luyet at Swisscom, he emphasized how important it is to have a strong employer brand, good recruitment marketing, and a solid talent acquisition strategy. Get all of those working together and you're going to attract some great talent. Salma Rashad at Siemens, she brought up how AI can sift through tons of data to find those candidates with the highest potential. It seems like it's all about using data to make smarter decisions, right?
Now, we got to talk about the third big trend from the report, skills-based recruiting. This is all about hiring based on what someone can do, not just their degrees or titles. And in a world that's changing so fast, where new skills are in demand all the time, this approach makes a ton of sense. It's about closing that skills gap.
Totally. The report found that 87% of HR pros in the DACH region think accurately assessing a candidate's skills is super important for improving the quality of hire. So it's not just about what's on paper, it's about what someone can actually do.
And the numbers back this up. Companies doing lots of skills-based searches on LinkedIn are 12% more likely to find qualified employees. So focusing on skills actually leads to better hires.
So where does AI fit in? I mean, can it actually help companies identify and measure those specific skills more effectively?
AI is a game changer for this. It can scan resumes and profiles for skills. It can actually automate the process of testing those skills through different tools. And it can even help reduce bias by focusing on what someone can do, not just their background.
And people seem to be warming up to AI in this context. 67% of HR folks in Germany said AI has made skills-based recruiting and finding qualified candidates easier. That's a pretty positive sign, right?
It's awesome because skills-based recruiting, especially when you're using AI, it can really unlock potential. You might find incredible people who don't have the traditional background, or maybe they didn't go the normal route in their career, but they've got the skills. It's about giving those people a chance, and it's about increasing diversity and inclusion.
That ties in with what the report said about more companies dropping the degree requirement for certain jobs. In 2023, 26% of paid LinkedIn job postings didn't require a degree, which is up from 22% in 2020. So companies are realizing that experience and skills matter more than just a piece of paper sometimes.
It's a big shift. So for companies that want to get serious about skills-based recruiting, what should they do? The report suggests starting by using AI to figure out exactly what skills are needed for each role, create a really detailed skills map.
Gotcha. So AI helps you define the skills. What else? How else can companies make this work?
Well, the report says you need to find new creative ways to actually test those skills in candidates. So think competency-based assessments, maybe give them real-world problems to solve, or even use simulations to see how they handle things. Siemens, for example, they're using task-based assessments from a company called Arctic Shores to test things like adaptability and problem solving.
Those are much better ways to see what someone can actually do, for sure. And the report also recommends standardizing interviews, having a set of questions that are designed to really evaluate those key skills. That helps make the process more fair and consistent, and it helps reduce bias, which is always a good thing.
Absolutely. And we've got some great thoughts from talent acquisition leaders on this too. Jessica Aguilar from Zurich Insurance Group, she talked about the importance of figuring out which skills are critical and building a culture of growth in the company. Salma Rashad at Siemens, she said skills-based hiring opens up a much bigger pool of talent and brings in fresh perspectives. Eveline de Gruyter from the Association of German Women Entrepreneurs, she's seeing skills-based hiring become more and more important because of the talent shortages. And Kirsten Wagner from Deutsche Bahn, she talked about their Future Lab, where they're developing new ways to figure out exactly what skills and competencies will be needed in the future. It's all about looking ahead and being ready for what's coming next.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the future of recruiting in the DACH region in 2025, one thing is clear. Things are changing in a big way. We've got AI shaking things up, a huge focus on the quality of hires, and this fundamental shift towards skills-based recruiting. It's a whole new world for finding and attracting talent.
It's a wild ride for sure. But the report also makes a really good point. All this change, it's not just a challenge, it's an opportunity. For people in HR and for job seekers too, those who embrace these new technologies, those who really focus on developing the skills that companies need, they're going to thrive in this new world of work.
I think that's a great takeaway. So as you've been listening to this, think about how these trends might affect you, your career, your company's hiring strategy. What are the skills that are going to be most valuable in this changing world? Whether you're a recruiter trying to use all these new tools, a hiring manager who needs to find top talent, or someone looking for their next big opportunity in the DACH region, understanding these changes is going to be crucial for everyone. So that's something to think about.
That's definitely something worth pondering. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.